Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel where I am doing something a little bit different today. I'm finally doing the Booktuber Newbie hashtag, which I probably should have done earlier because I've made a few videos now, but I still feel very much like a newbie, so it is probably not too late to go ahead and answer these questions. And I enjoy watching other people's videos. It's a good way to get to know other booktubers, so here we go. The first question is, why did you start this channel? So there are a couple reasons. The first one is just that I really enjoy YouTube. I've enjoyed YouTube since I probably started watching when I was about 10 years old, and I would watch the occasional YouTube video. And now I come to YouTube like to have fun and sometimes just to relax and do something that doesn't take any brain power. But I also have learned a lot from YouTube about stories and books and book history and cultural history, and I find it a lot more enjoyable than other social media platforms. Instagram, Facebook, just not really my personality. I always kind of feel like I'm trying to follow the rules there, whereas YouTube feels to me like it has more of a nerdy side, or at least I found more of YouTube's nerdy side, and I feel like I fit in a little bit more, and it's more fun for me. I like the video format better than the photo format. I'm not really a photographer. Video format it feels a lot more interactive, so I like that. And when I come to YouTube for an evening, sometimes I come away feeling like, I could have used that time better, but a lot of times I actually come away from watching some YouTube videos feeling really motivated to go write, go make stuff, go actually make a difference and engage with the real world, because YouTube has just gotten me excited about all of those things. So that's why YouTube, rather than investing more in other social media platforms, which I don't do very much at this point. The second half of why starting a channel and why doing it now is that I'm in the Author Conservatory, which teaches writers how to craft a sustainable career as authors. And we're starting some platform trainings. We're starting to learn how to build community and get to know other people so that we're not just writing into the void by ourselves. And we're just experimenting with some social media platforms, just learning how to do things, building skills, meeting people. So it was kind of a school assignment to start something on social media, and I was immediately like, well, if we're just going based on which social media I enjoy most, definitely going to be YouTube. So I went ahead and started this Booktube channel a few months ago, and that's why I'm here now. Question 2 is, what are some fun and unique things that you can bring to Booktube? One thing is that I like to make shorter videos. This one may get kind of long, I don't know, but mostly I like to keep my videos around 10 minutes or under. I know a lot of Booktube videos are really long, some of them, an hour and a half, 2 hours plus. I see a whole lot around the half-hour mark, and that can be great. Sometimes I really like those deep dive videos or the long list. Sometimes I really enjoy that, but also a lot of times I won't watch them, or they'll just end up on my very long watch later list because I don't have time for them right now. So I have been breaking up my videos into more bite-sized pieces that I hope will be more accessible, easier to just pick up one on the go when you have a few spare minutes, rather than, this is something that you commit to sit down for an hour and a half, or something that you just want to skip through to hit the highlights. I'm hoping that I can bring some videos that are a little bit easier to digest, a little bit quicker, that you can maybe get, part 1 here, part 2 here, something that's just easier to do with a few minutes. One unique thing that I've been doing in my videos is featuring a t-shirt of the week, because I like talking about real life stories too. In my email newsletter in the past, I've had a section that I called Real Life Adventures with Jenny. And to me, t-shirts, pretty much every t-shirt I have represents an actual story that happened to me, a real life adventure that I've had. So I like bringing those in and connecting the fictional stories in the books with the real stories of things that I've gotten to do in my real everyday life. So I think that's another unique angle that I can bring to Booktube. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Again, in my email newsletter, I like to bring some very just honest, call it what it is humor. I don't know if I've been pulling that off in my booktube videos or not, because I'm mostly just getting used to being in front of the camera, so I don't know that I've been very funny at all, but hopefully as I get more used to doing these videos, I can bring that honest, blunt, like we all know this is what's happening kind of humor, especially like self-deprecating humor. I like to call myself out on things. If I'm being dramatic about something, just call myself out on being overly dramatic or whatever. So we'll see how that goes. Question 3 is, what are you most excited for about this new channel? I think meeting people, getting to know the people on YouTube, the people in the booktube community, meeting more readers. I've heard a lot of people say that they've made really, really good friends through booktube, so I'm excited to get more connected with this community, find more good books to read from everyone else, and probably talk about them on my channel, although as most booktubers do, my TBR is already impossible, so I don't really need more books to read, but it'll be fun to hear more about what other people are reading and then get to read books with other people, read them at the same time, join the conversation about books as that's going on. So I'm excited for that, and I'm also just looking forward to building up more video skills, because I think that'll be really useful to learn how to edit, learn how to be comfortable on camera, learn how to communicate and think on the spot, or conversely how to plan for a video. So I'm just looking forward to getting better at this, and if you're going to be watching my videos long term, you're probably looking forward to when I will get better at this too, because maybe you're getting a little bit tired of me being a newbie. Question number 4, why do you love reading? It's going to be very, very hard to put into words, but I love how much reading is a journey. I love to get to the end of a book and then look back on the beginning and just how much has changed. Those are my favorite books, are the ones where there have been just massive changes within the characters, within the world, and not many other art forms can provide that in the same way. I mean, a movie kind of does, but movies are a lot shorter than books in the time it takes to get through them. I mean, unless it's, I could probably read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe faster than I could watch The Return of the King extended edition, so that's not a hard and fast rule. But, I mean, you get the point. Generally, a movie you're going to watch in a couple of hours, and a book is going to take a lot longer. Usually it's going to be spread out over several days. I know a lot of people on BookTube read really, really fast, probably a lot faster than I do, but that amount of time that I spend with a book and the length of taking that journey with the characters is a really powerful thing. So I love that. I love how it helps me imagine and picture things. With a movie, it pictures everything for you. With a book, I have to imagine that myself and go through the process of thinking through everything on my own. So reading has really impacted my thinking and helped me think through a lot of things from new perspectives. I enjoy reading the Bible a lot more because of the fictional books that I've read, and that's really important to me. So I love how reading helps me to see God's story from a new perspective, and I just love reading because it's fun. Question 5 is, what book or series got you into reading? And I actually didn't love reading from a very early age. I wasn't really into books until I was a little bit older, but I read the whole Narnia series for the first time when I was 9, I think, and that was my first big reading excursion on my own. The movie of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe kind of got me into stories in general when I was about 3. That was the first story that I was really excited about. So then reading the book series on my own when I was 9 was kind of my foundation. I read Pilgrim's Progress the same year. Then I didn't get really invested in reading for a few more years. I read a bunch of like Nancy Drew books and American Girl mysteries and a bunch of like those really short mystery books and long series. I had fun with those for a few years when I was like 12, 13. But then when I was 14, I kind of discovered fantasy that wasn't Narnia and Pilgrim's Progress, and when I was about 14, I started getting into reading a little bit more with like the Green Ember series and then the Wing Feather Saga when I was 15. So a little bit later start than some people, but I am working on making up for it now. Question 6. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? Well, I think this is a really common question that just about everybody would ask booktubers, but how do you make the time to make all the videos and edit all the videos and respond to all the comments, which my favorite booktubers are making a living at this, so that's a little bit different from someone who's just starting and doing it as a hobby on the side. But making time for it has definitely been a challenge. Um, just keeping up the motivation and the actual willpower to get in front of the camera and push the record button. Um, Obviously, the big booktubers have been past that for a little while, but they would probably have some good advice on how they originally overcame some of that. And I would also probably ask them how they know what kinds of videos will be the most helpful to make, how they come up with their ideas, and then how they pick which ideas are going to be the best and which ones are actually worth making, which ones are worth putting the work into. I would like to ask them how much editing is worth the trouble, and how much it is worth the time to make it look fancy, and whether that is actually helpful. Question 7. What challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? And I think there's a missing word in the way that question is written. But I touched on this a little already. Obviously, time is everybody's biggest obstacle, just finding time to work on it. Again, like I mentioned, learning to do well in front of a camera. And also, like I just referenced, knowing what to make videos about, what is going to be worth the time, what is not going to really be worth the time investment. I think a lot of that is just going to come from experience and trial and error, and experimenting. So that'll be an interesting journey, I guess. That'll be an adventure of figuring out what is worth the time, what is not, and how I can make time for these videos and when I don't need to make time for these videos, just figuring out that whole balance. Question 8, when did you start reading? So I kind of answered this already. I mean, I could read from the time that I was about 4, but I didn't really enjoy reading that much until I was about 14, 15. But I did start reading to some degree when I was like 9. I went through that spell when I was 12 to 13. I was really into mysteries. I read a lot of like historical mysteries at that point. But yeah, when I was 14, 15, really kind of rediscovered the fantasy genre at that point. I still didn't read that many books a year at that point, though. It was probably in about 2020 when I started on purpose trying to read more books and a wider variety of books. Question 9 is, where do you read? Mostly on my bed. I have a bunch of pillows set up, so it's kind of like a chair, and it's the most comfortable place that I have to sit, basically, and it is my relaxing place. So that's where I like to read the best. I do read outside sometimes. I walk and read sometimes, either down in the basement or out in the backyard, to get some exercise and read at the same time. On long drives, I really like to read in the car. Fortunately, I don't usually get car sick, so I can read in the car. I don't tend to read on my phone. I don't usually like take an ebook with me and read it just for a few minutes. When I read, I want to settle down and have a fairly long time to read and not have to just like read for 5 minutes and then put it away. Question 10, what kind of books do you like to read? I am very open to just about anything, but fantasy is my favorite, and I've gotten into sci-fi recently. I came up with a sci-fi story idea and realized that I had pretty much never read any sci-fi, and I needed to do that before I tried to write sci-fi. So for the last year or so, I've been chowing down on as much sci-fi as I can get my hands on, and I have discovered that I love sci-fi, possibly as much as fantasy, depending on what form the sci-fi is in. I also really like classics. Trying to think of some of my favorite classics. I like Austen and Dickens. I like Crime and Punishment. I would say I like Dostoevsky, but Crime and Punishment is the only one of his books that I've read, so I assume I would like the other ones. But I like old books, time-tested books. Sometimes I get really tired of modern books, and like the classic ones better. I like books with mystery elements. I haven't read a lot of straight-up mystery books recently, but I definitely enjoy a kind of creepy, mysterious aspect in a book. I like books with kind of flowing poetic prose usually. I can get a little bit tired of books where the prose is just really bland and straightforward. But I have been trying to read a wider variety recently, so I am up for reading close to anything. Basically, it just needs to be an adventure, is what I want from a book. And that doesn't have to be a literal external adventure. It can look like whatever, but it needs to feel like an adventure, or I'm probably not going to really like it. And question 11 is evidently optional, and it's what does your book collection look like? And I don't know if the intention is literal, like what is the appearance of your book collection, or if it is what books are in your collection, like what composes your book collection. I don't know. I think that can mean a couple different things, but to kind of answer them both, my book collection physically looks like this behind me. There are more books underneath that, and above it is not as big as I wish it were, but some of these are like double layered. There's like my Tolkien display up there. There are a bunch of books behind that. You can see like there are books stacked on top of books. There are books behind these books. So that is not exactly my entire book collection. It is mostly fantasy, some classics, especially like hand-me-down classics that I've stolen from my family members. My nonfiction books are under these shelves behind some doors. Sorry, nonfiction books. They're great, but they usually don't have covers that are as pretty as the fictional books, so I put the nonfiction books behind the closed doors. And I also have books like on my dresser over there and on my nightstand up there, so there are just books kind of everywhere in here. I've got my my sci-fi stack over there with my Brandon Sanderson Skyward books and my Dune box set, and I've got some nonfiction books over there. And I already kind of said what types of books these are, as far as like figuratively what does my book collection look like. I have quite a bit of middle grade and YA back there, probably more than adult books. That's largely because this is the book collection that I've been building since I was like 12, and so it has a lot of, you know, early teen me in it. There are a lot of books that I would like to add to this collection, and Booktube will probably let me know about more books than I will ever need to know about to add to this collection. Okay, that is all the questions. Thank you for watching this. Let me know what kind of books you like to read, what your book collection looks like, and let me know your favorite Booktube channels too, because I would love to join you in watching those and learn from the masters. See you guys next time. Bye.